Romance Book Recommendations Part 2 of 2019. This video was requested after I put up my last romance recommendations video. So if you have not checked it out already, please do. And I hope that you like the recommendations that I have for you guys in today's video. So without any further ado, let's get into today's video. The first book that I recommend is What We Talk About When We Talk About Love by Raymond Carver. This is a collection of some uncanny short stories. Bit difficult to read, so I won't really recommend it if you are not an advanced level reader. Not exactly in the language, but actually in the understanding of what actually happened. Beauty of these short stories is that not a lot is told about what actually happens and what didn't happen, and you can think or interpret as you wish, which I really like about it. I think love has certain ambiguity that should be left for readers. The next book will be a book that is sort of a cliche book, but I'll recommend it especially if you're a beginner, and that is Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Personally, I don't like this book as much, probably because I picked this book up because it was so hyped, and comparatively it does not live up to the hype. But even then, this is by far one of the best romance books that have been written in history, and I feel that if you have not read this book, you might have missed out on a bit of romance. But definitely if you have read a lot of romance in your life, you will not find this book as appealing, which happened with me. Also, like, people say that this is groundbreaking, amazing, never written before, but it's not. The thing is, this book has been very overhyped, but I think when you're going into reading this book, don't think about the reviews, but actually go into it with some less expectation so that you actually love this book. The next book that I'll recommend to you guys is a book that I read very recently, and it's called A Lover's Dictionary by David Levithan. This book is basically a dictionary, and the words are described as a lover's experience, and it is lovely. I'll try to leave some excerpts on the screen. You will love them. I'm sure that if you have been loved, if you have felt how it is to fall in love, or if you have had breakups, you will love this book because it is so intense, and all the meanings of the words that are listed inside this book are very, very relatable, and it's a very unusual way to write a book, I'll say, and that's why I like this book. I was absolutely blown away when I read this book. One of my favorite quotes from this book was definitely "Love me little but love me for a long time," or was it "Love me less but for a long time." Really, really loved it. But the book is full of such memorable quotes, and if you don't read this book, you're really missing out some love in life. This book is not available in India, so if you want to import it, it's very costly. So I will recommend you guys to go to Storytel and read the book on Storytel. If you don't have this subscription, you can use this code storytel.com/LE to get a 30-day free trial. But if you have a subscription, just go and listen to it right now. It's just about 2 hours and it won't cost you as much. I really wanted to have the paperback though, but it's just not possible. It's very costly, and compared to the size, I am not ready to pay so much. The next book that I'll recommend to you guys is a Murakami. It's one of my favorite Murakamis. It's Sputnik Sweetheart. This book deals with different kinds of love, and obviously if it's Murakami, it has magical realism. It encompasses the breadth of love in very different directions in a small book, and it blows your mind. I think that compared to Kafka on the Shore, I actually like Sputnik Sweetheart more, although the complexity is less than Kafka. Sputnik Sweetheart is definitely Murakami's best romance, and I will say if there's any book by Murakami that matches the love that you can feel in Sputnik Sweetheart, will be Norwegian Wood or South of the Border. I did not recommend these two inside this recommendation video because I have already recommended them so many times in my other videos. The next recommendation will be Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. Namesake does not have romance as its primary theme, of course, but even then the romance in this book is sort of like what I don't really know what the English word for this will be. If I remember, I will write it here below. Will it be mild flame? I'll say in Hindi that is Dhimi Aach. That soft burning flames of love that you can feel inside this book between the protagonists of this book. It's amazing. But obviously family life is held in a better is portrayed in a better manner inside this book. But even then, romance is one of the themes of this book, and Jhumpa Lahiri has done a great job in portraying it in the best possible manner. What we all see is Indians in general, especially our parents, are not very vocal about romance and love, and that is being captured very well inside this book. Next book that I recommend is Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. I can just go on and on about this book because I loved it. I love Frankenstein, obviously, and this book highlights a love story that could have taken place in Frankenstein in a very amazing manner. This genre is young adults, but I loved it so much. I don't read much young adult nowadays, although young adult was the genre that I actually started reading more with. I personally like this book so much, probably because the writing style is brilliant. If Mary Shelley were to read and rate this book, she'll definitely rate it 5 stars. And if you want to read something that will tickle your horror taste buds, this is the book that you must pick up. I can just not make a romance video without including The Great Gatsby in it. My favorite book, my soul, my heart, my life, my brain, my mind, my hands, my legs, everything are this book. I love this book so much. I can't even describe why I love this book so much. Let's just say that I love the way Scott Fitzgerald has encompassed so many ideas, so many themes, and so many abstractions in one particular book that has left this book to numerous interpretations. That is exactly the reason why I love this book. Daisy and Gatsby are definitely not the best couple in literature, but they are definitely one of the most interesting couples to read about, especially because when you read more into this book, you'll see Daisy is not his romance interest after all. She's just an idealization of Gatsby's goals. The next book is from our sponsor Ekta Renu Chandna, and this book is Invisible Girlfriend. I found the title very strange, although I had read similar titles before. But this book is basically a romance set in school life. One of my favorite tropes. I personally love school romance, and I also feel that school is the best time to fall in love because you are comparatively younger and you don't take into account several things that you do take into account when you grow up. We don't see the external things attached to a person which we usually do when we grow up, right? We always think about, is this person gonna be okay for me or not when we grow up? But in school, we just fall in love without thinking about it. So I really like this particular trope, and this book is about Siddharth, who has had the greatest pleasure of his life of being able to date the girl he likes the most in school, but she suddenly vanishes before his eyes. Found this trope very amazing. I have not finished reading this book, but I think this is going to be sort of magical realism. I will let you guys know in my Instagram stories once I finish reading this book. So if you're not following me on Instagram, please do. I will update you on what I think about this book when I finish reading it. But for now, make sure that you show support to our sponsor by buying her book. The link to buy her book will be in the description below. So go and check it out. All the links to all the books, by the way, are in the description below. The next book that I'll recommend to you is definitely not a recommendation that you expected in today's video, but it's You by Caroline Kepnes. I loved this book. This is not a romance book, but it has a very bad side of romance inside it, which I think you might find interesting if you like criminals and if you like psychological thrillers, and I had to include this book. Romance is amazing, but sometimes it just takes a turn for the dark. And so if you're tired of reading mushy romances, this is the book that you should pick up, and I promise you'll love it. The last book that I'll recommend is The Little Prince. The Little Prince is one book that you can interpret in thousands of ways, and one interpretation can be romance, love, and I loved this book when I read it from that point of view and not from the one where you think about growing up. And obviously there are several point of views you can use while reading this book, which is the magic of this book. So if you don't have this book already, you are losing out on the whole world. I feel this is one of the books that I hold so close to my heart. I can't even say why I love this book. Maybe because the meaning of this book changes every time I give it a read, and I'm sure that if you happen to read The Little Prince, you will agree with me on that. I hope you guys enjoyed today's recommendations. Hope that you guys will be picking up some of the books that I recommend in today's video. This will be all for monsoon recommendations of romance. I might be making book recommendations on romance books later, but not in the coming months for sure. Let me know in the comment section below if you liked today's video. Let me know about your recommendations of romance that I should definitely read, and I'll be back with another video next week. By the way, if you got a bit pissed by the background noise in today's video towards the end of it, I'm sorry, construction work is going on and it's pretty damn annoying. But those of you who watch my videos for a long time, you know that this has been going on for a long time and I absolutely hate it. Yeah, that would be all for my rant today. Bye bye.